Hey, good to see you. Thanks for coming. This is another episode of Wireframe brought to you by Design Systems House. I'm your host, Donnie D'Amato, and today we're going to be talking about recruiting unfiltered. And to do that, I have a very special guest who's been doing recruiting for quite a while now, as we talked about earlier, and she'll probably introduce herself with it. I have Joanne Weaver on the show today. Joanne, thank you so much for being on the show. Let everyone know who you are so that we can get started.
Yeah, well, thanks, Donnie, for having me. What a treat to be on your show. So I'm Joanne Weaver. I am the co-founder of the Joanne Weaver Group, which is a design and product recruiting agency. We're based in New York. It's me and my business partner, Rebecca Levy. We were one of the first ever recruiting agencies to focus in UX and product design. It wasn't even called product design back then. It was probably more like information architects, actually. And we've been in business since 2007. So this is our 19th year in business. We focus on product design, design systems people as well, near and dear to your heart, Donnie.
That's right.
User research, content, and then product design too. We work with Fortune 500s. We work with little scrappy startups, everything in between. But I think what really makes me and Rebecca so excited about what we do is that we just really love design. We just really love design. I think design is it's the job in a company that's really keeping the user in mind. It's like, yes, they're keeping the business in mind, but they're keeping the user ever in mind. So it's really, it's sacred work. Like you're keeping the user ever, just keeping their needs at the forefront and making sure that they're having a good experience and therefore having a good life, really.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well said. So the reason that I asked you to come on, and the reason that she's on here today in particular, is because I've gotten a few folks that watch the show and go, hey, I would really like to know about an expert's opinion about recruiting, especially in these particular times, right? I'm thinking back to, maybe just before the pandemic where tech was booming with hiring, right? You could be hired anywhere really easily. And in fact, we talked about this before the show about how recruitment felt for me personally in tech and some other folks. But now it seems a little bit more volatile. And certainly with nearly 20 years of experience, you've definitely must have seen a lot of ebbs and flows and fears, uncertainties, doubts, successes. So maybe I'm not sure exactly where to start other than what your perspective has been over your experience for the past 20 years so far about, what's happened and what is now happening at this moment.
Yeah, sure. So I actually got started in tech in the late 90s. So I've actually been in tech since 1999. So I've seen quite a few boom times and quite a few bust times. So the boom times were, certainly like the dot-com boom 1.0, San Francisco and New York were going nuts, and then Austin and Seattle, that was kind of like the golden age of tech. And then in 2001, the bubble burst. Things were just completely overvaluated. It was a wonderful, beautiful experiment. I met some of the most incredible, amazing people in that job. It was called Scient. It was an e-business and e-commerce platform business, just the best and brightest people that I'm still friends with to this day, many of them. And then the bottom dropped out in 2001. And then it's just, it goes up and down, right? So that was the down, and then it went back up. So, and then 2008, it went down again with the whole housing crisis. So, wonderful people were out of work for a long time. People that had really fantastic jobs and, amazing resumes, amazing portfolios. It was just that crunch time. But it didn't last very long. I feel like in 2008, it maybe lasted like a year or so. And then, it built back up. I would say the next major boom was 2022. So certainly when COVID hit in 2020,
Hmm.
that threw everything into chaos. Like, what are we doing? Are we working from home? Or, we can't go in the office anymore. And I think that was such a also beautiful kind of sort of accidental experiment that,
Hmm.
oh, wow, people can actually still be fantastic at their jobs. And they can be trusted to be, efficient and effective at home. So I thought that was a really great thing for people that really wanted some more flexibility. It proved that it could be done. And yeah, that was the time where, mid-level designers were getting hired for 200K,
Right.
250K. So many of our hiring managers, like the clients we worked with at the companies that were hiring, would have these side conversations with me like, hey, should I be looking for a job right now? Like this mid-level person is making the same amount that I'm making or more.
Right.
Um, and then and then the bottom dropped out again in like 2023. And I gotta say, it hasn't fully recovered. Like
Right.
I feel like there's been some little ebbs and flows within that. But I think now with this advent of AI, and I think a lot of companies are blaming AI for massive layoffs.
Hmm.
And in some cases, it might be somewhat true. But I think there's been a lot of companies that have walked it back, right? Like
Right.
Duolingo laid off a bunch of junior people, and then all of a sudden their product just sucked, right? So it's like, oops, made that mistake. We actually need designers. We actually need people to make this thing work. So I think it's very nascent. I think it's very new. I think people are still figuring it out. Do these companies want to cut costs? Yes. Are they using AI as an excuse? Probably a lot of the time. That's not a scientific, well researched opinion. That's just my opinion, just
Hmm.
kind of what I see in the market. But this slump has lasted a really long time.
Hmm.
Like it's unprecedented.
Yeah.
So I've seen people out of work, like incredible people too, like people that are just like amazing at what they do, incredible. Like they should not be out of work for this long, and yet they have been. So
Yeah.
it's weird times. It's really weird times right now.
So, what these folks that
But,
are,
but also, but also not
yeah.
hopeless. I want to end
Oh,
on that. It's not hopeless. There is work. There are jobs. I don't want this to be doom and gloom. There are opportunities out there. It's just tougher. It's
right.
unique.
Right.
It's a unique market we're in.
And I think the thing that I want to ask you on top of that then is that with these folks that are, high quality folks that are out there, do you believe that folks who are trying to hire, right? These hiring managers and other folks, do you think that they are well equipped to hire these folks, or do you think that people are not as informed maybe as before? Maybe they are losing some of the insights about hiring and making you know wor- worse decisions than they used to. I'm just thinking about, my own experience where like I've had, you know, um, been in interview loops where I'll, have, some interviewer who's asking me questions that are not related to my expertise. When I know in the JD, it's like they're looking for a design systems expert. Okay, great. Let's talk design systems.
Hmm.
And then in the interview, they'll ask me to create undo functionality for the canvas, and I'm like, that's not my role, right? And
Hmm.
it when you get to that point, you're like wasting time, in fact.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
so that's from my experience. But do you think that could be any attribution from what you've been seeing?
Curious about your experience.
Hmm.
Were those people asking you those questions? Were they designers or design leaders, or were they coming from a different discipline?
Yeah, so the challenge for a role like mine in design systems and even design engineering more specifically is that you will get designers asking you questions and you'll get
Mhm.
engineers asking you questions because they want to see the aptitude on both sides, which is its own problem because we're just recently seeing this rise of design engineering that's happening, but we're
Mhm.
also, this is kind of what my comment is coming from. They don't know how to assess what a good design engineer is. They know how to assess a good designer. They know how to assess a good engineer, but they don't know how to assess a good design engineer. And that's been a problem for years.
Mm.
Years. I have an entire blog post that I wrote about this
Mm.
problem. But the assessment of these folks, especially with these emerging roles, right? We have all these emerging roles that are happening because of AI. And I think people don't know the questions to ask or how to measure success or any of that stuff. And I think when you have high quality candidates that maybe haven't interviewed in a while, right?
Hmm.
Because they've
Hmm.
been in a situation and a location for so long in their element that now they're back on the streets, so to speak. They don't know how to talk the talk because the talk has changed, even if it's not the
Mm,
right questions that are even being asked on those streets. You know.
mm, mm. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry to interview you, but I'm
Go ahead.
curious. You say that you wrote an article about being asked kind of, inappropriate or just not super efficient questions. Do you have a theory as to why that is, or have you been seeing that more recently than before?
So the article is more about design it or really UX engineering as a unicorn kind of role that
Hmm.
has
Yeah.
existed, and that was more from the lens of we don't know where we belong. It's either in design or engineering.
Uh-huh.
We don't know
Yeah.
where. But
Yeah. Yeah.
from the recruiting standpoint of this stuff, where you know I'll I'll actually give you more context about that particular one where they're asking me to do the undo functionality. Um, I got contacted by them again years later, and they're like, "Hey, you're in our pipeline. Would you be interested in a role that you might be, might be a fit for you?" And
Hmm.
I told the recruiter over there, the in-house recruiter, I said, "Look, I will certainly go through your process only if you can assess me accurately." That's what I
Hmm.
said, right?
Word. Good. Good
If
for
you,
you.
yeah, if you
Yeah.
can't assess me accurately, then let's not waste anybody's time. And granted, at the moment and at that moment, I already had a role. I'm already working. I don't have to move anywhere. Admittedly, the position and the company is very interesting, but ultimately, I'm like, I'm sitting fine. I'm not, stressed for, a role. So I'm in that position where I can be a little choosy, certainly.
Hmm.
But at the end of
Hmm.
the day, I'm just like, I don't want to waste either of our times. So I told the recruiter, I said, if you're not able to assess me properly, let's not do this. So she went back to the team and was like, hey, here's this thing that this candidate raised. And then ended up coming back and says, yeah, we can't do it. And I was like, whoa. I was
Well, hey, dodged a bullet there,
I
right?
I guess
Yeah.
so, yeah, but that was
Hmm.
shocking to me that they're gonna put a
Hmm.
roll up and then be clear about we can't even assess the role properly.
But like, what a wonderful gift they gave you, Donnie, at the end of the day. Because if they can't even assess you accurately during that part of the process, what are they going to do with you once you're actually inside?
Correct.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
there isn't somebody there championing for you and saying, like, we have this, not even, doesn't even have to be a robust creative technology department, but just somebody who's going to be your sponsor and somebody who's going to be looking out for you. Like, you have to, like, the fact that they didn't have that person in the process means that person probably doesn't exist at the company. So you would have probably had a pretty, I'm guessing, a painful uphill battle to prove your worth and figure out where you fit within the company, which maybe you could have done. Would you really want to do that though? If like half your job is trying to like fight for your existence as opposed to just like doing great work, right?
Yeah,
So,
it's a hard battle for sure. Yeah.
right. I mean, for your question of, I don't personally feel like I've seen it getting worse over time. I think there's always been companies that get it, and there's always been companies that don't. And I think design in particular is a tricky discipline because some of it is, hard facts, right? Like, what did you actually build? What did that earn the company? Like, how many users did that bring into our system, right? So there are some metrics and some kind of hard hitting facts that design can bring to the table, and I think even more so. Like, I think companies are looking for designers to bring even more of that now, almost kind of like a product design sort of mindset. Um, Sorry, where was I going with this? Design, but oh, right. Also, that design has kind of a subjective piece to it too, right? Like one could say that design is rather subjective.
Right. Right.
So, just what does one person believe is good craft versus another, right? Like we try to do as much intake as we can as, third party recruiters, which basically means like we're an independent body. We work with multiple clients. on various roles, most of them design, some products, some, kind of scattered throughout. And we're basically like, they give us roles and we're like, okay, let's fill your roles. Let's, give you, 6 to 10 candidates per role. And we go to bat for them and we screen them ahead of time and put them through the process and whatnot. So we are entrenched in their process to a certain degree. So we can give feedback to them, which, you as the candidate going through that experience, that was pretty brave of you to do that. And that's got, but you have chutzpah, which is great. And I think that's, wonderful. A lot of candidates, especially if they were like kind of, in a more desperate position for a job, may not have felt in a position where they could have asked that.
Of course.
I think us being kind of like inside with the hiring managers and part of the process, we can say like, hey, candidates are being asked the same question multiple times throughout these different rounds. Like it's becoming repetitive. Like, is there a way that you can, have one person ask that and, have some sort of shared document on the back end? Like we'll try to work with them to improve their process. But I would say the clients that we work with that don't have a good process, but we feel that they're coachable and trainable and they want to get a good process, we are down. Like we love teaching clients how to do that and how to strengthen the process for them, but then also for the talent they're bringing in. If it's a company that doesn't seem like they want to get it or they just can't for whatever reason, we might just do that one particular search with them, which is kind of like the, kind of sniffing each other out, seeing if we wanted this to be a long-term relationship. And maybe that's just the end of the road.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and that's reminding me of our conversation prior to the show about the benefit of recruiting. And I was telling Joanne, and I'll tell here on the show that prior to me understanding the benefits of recruiting, I actually had a fairly sour kind of feeling toward, kind of especially a third party recruitment. From my own personal experience, right? Because when I was trying to come up in tech and I was just trying to grab any scraps that I could, I was figuring, oh, okay, let me go ahead and go with these recruiters because they're the ones with the jobs, right? They're supposed to help me, find that job. So what am I supposed to do? And in some of these cases, you would get these recruiters that would be like, yeah, I got something for you here. And when I would go on site for those interviews at the time, sometimes it would be like, a misschedule, like, I wasn't prepared for you or, and the recruiter would maybe ghost you, like all of this very poor communicated kind of things that were happening. On top of that, the roles weren't really great quality, in my opinion, as well, right? Just from a maturity standpoint and some of those things. So a lot of things that just felt like I was, kind of, bumping and dumping recruiters. It was like, okay, this one, okay, didn't work out. All right, go to another one. All right, this one, okay, well, that didn't work out for this reason. It's just like you're like churning a whole bunch. And then eventually, of course, I learned that it was like, oh, well, the recruiter, is getting a cut of the agreement effectively. So if I was to go direct, then it would help the business out by not having that cut, right? And I had that worldview at the time. And Joanne, you set me straight in that conversation. So I'm hoping you could set the audience straight a little bit in this as well about what the benefit of recruiting is and why a person should consider working with a team like yours.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I want to acknowledge your experience that you had with crappy recruiters, ones that ghosted you or didn't set you up for success. Sorry that happened. Sorry
right.
On behalf of my role, my discipline out there in the world. But I think with any sort of role, there's going to be good ones and there's going to be bad ones, right? There's going to be sharky ones. There's going to be great ones. I mean, you think of, lawyers, right? Like there's like the schmarmy ambulance chaser, unethical kind of personalities, or just that's their kind of MO. And then you have like the super high-end ones that are arguing cases in front of the Supreme Court, right? There's like a lot of area in there to work with. And I will also say that I think there are a lot of recruiters out there that aren't great.
Yeah.
I think it's an industry where you don't need special schooling. There isn't a lot of barrier to entry. You can basically get started with a computer and a phone, which is great. People that are great that's wonderful for them that they could get started. Like that was how I got started, was just like, okay. I mean, I literally got hired at the staffing agency and they're like, here's a phone, here's a computer, go get new business or you're fired.
Wow. There you
Like,
go.
okay, you know, but it was great. I mean, it's like, how resourceful are you? Like, how can you build connections? Like, what can you do? And I went to my college sorority alumni group and I wrote on there and I'm like, hey guys, I haven't done anything with you guys since I graduated. But does anybody have a job they can throw me? Because I'm going to get fired if you don't.
Mm.
And so the head of HR from Polo Ralph Lauren
Oh,
reached
wow.
out to me and she's like, yeah, we'll take a meeting. Come on in. And I placed my first, actually, he was a executive assistant. I wasn't quite doing design yet at the time, but I'll never forget his name, Rhett.
Oh, wow.
That was wonderful. So anyway, that is to say that I think there's going to be as many different styles of recruiters as there are people,
Right.
right? So I think it's your responsibility as a candidate to sniff out like who's going to be a good one to work with. If they're sending you roles that don't match your background, or if they're being extra pushy, they're not hearing you, like they're not taking what you're saying into account, like they've got dollar signs in their eyes, they just want to make that placement and they're just gonna, they're using the relationship for their own gain. You can sniff that out pretty quickly, especially as designers that have, high empathy and, good antenna. So don't work with them. People will show you who they are in pretty short order.
Yeah.
If, however, you find that a recruiter is respectful of what you're saying that you want and what you need, they're bringing you the right kinds of roles. They're working with the kinds of companies that you think are interesting. And maybe the one role they brought you in that moment, maybe that wasn't the right match, but maybe they'll have something in the future, right? And that's the beauty of working with a third-party recruiter, is that it's one-stop shopping, because we're working with multiple different companies all the time. So if you tell me, hey, this isn't the right fit, but I would love something in this kind of area. Here's my resume. Here's my portfolio. Here's what I'm looking for in comp. Like, keep me in mind. Great. I will absolutely keep you in mind. Right. So I think and then also once you start working with them, yeah, like, I mean, it's a relationship, right? Like, do you jibe? Like, do you feel like you have, like, this could be a good working relationship? Do they have your best interests in mind? It's like, I think that Rebecca, my business partner, and I, when going into, a matching situation, like when we place candidates at a job or even just introduce candidates to a job, we're not thinking about like, oh, well, this person just lasts through the 90-day guarantee period and we get our money and we go. It's like, no, like we're in it for the long-term relationship. Like, that's what makes this job enjoyable for me. Like, I want to work with people through the years. I want to work with the same clients through the years and build that trust and build that intellectual property. But I also want to do that with my candidates too. And I think, I do that often with candidates. I mean, I've placed or even just worked with, like, repped people that were like, mid-level in their careers, maybe senior designers. And I've placed them maybe multiple times through their career. And then they get to be a VP of design. And then they're looking to hire people through me. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
It's like this full circle of relationship. So
Right.
I think working with an outside recruiter, you are getting somebody who's coaching you basically for free. Like, if they have a job they can actually work on with you, like, I'm going to coach people on, okay, here's what I think you need to put on your resume for it to have the best impression on this particular client. Here's what I think you could judge on your portfolio. Here's like a full prep, like you're going into the interview, like here's what they're going to want to know. Like, these are the kinds of stories you should tell. Here's some things to avoid that they don't really want to hear. Here's some things they really do want to hear. And then we do that at every single step of the process. So after you have your round one, we're getting your feedback, the candidate, the job seeker. We're sharing that with the client. And then the client, the hiring company, is telling us what their feedback is about you, the job seeker. And so we're able to give that to you. So we're able to strategize with you throughout the whole process. Like, okay, hey, Donnie, they really love the fact that you do XYZ, but then, like, maybe you said something like this, they weren't totally sure about it, so they could use a little expansion on that. So it's like, we're able to just like tee you up for the next round, and really get everybody what they need.
No, that when you mentioned that when we spoke, what was it, last week? That's the thing that really got me about the black box of
Mhm.
hiring and trying to find the job, right? Because if you don't have the recruiter in there, that's
Right.
supposed to be partially on your side, partially on the company side. But if you don't have that third party in there, you're going in blind and you're coming
Mhm.
out effectively blind, right? Because you don't
Yes.
get any
Yes.
feedback from nearly any of these companies about what any of them are really looking for in terms of what the fit was, right? And we did
Yeah.
again earlier talk about, it's entirely possible that they assessed you improperly, right? And there was just
Yeah.
a mismatch there too, where the JD says one thing, and then you start talking to people, and you find out, wait a minute, is this the thing that we thought it was? And that's on both sides, not just the candidate side, but also the hiring side. Was this the thing that we thought it was? So
Mhm.
having that advocate or the intermediary there that's trying to make it work on both sides, so that there's this almost like a liaison. This is the same thing that we do
Mhm.
from the design engineering standpoint, right? You have this individual or these teams that are between design and engineering that are trying to get these two worlds to connect, right? So it's a very similar kind of thing that I think is going on your side, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Everybody wants you to win. I think that's something that I think a lot of candidates feel in this. The job market's really scary right now. And I think people go into interviews thinking, like, oh God, like this is so tough. But like me as a recruiter, like we want you to win. Like the company, like they want to fill the role, like they want you to do well. Right. So I think going in there the most prepared, like if we can help you do that, like that's, I think, super key. And certainly, I think when you talked about the black box, certainly having a recruiter on your side, like we're only sending maybe like 6 people in per role,
Mm.
maybe a few more, right? Like we're doing really intense intake with the client to understand what exactly is this role? What does your company do? Like we want to just nail it like as soon as possible for efficiency's sake, for everybody's sake.
Right.
Um, and so we're able to just really be able to focus on just the right candidates. We're bringing a small number through to them. So if you're actually being repped by us, or probably most recruiters, we're here to save the client time. They're already looking at tons of people on LinkedIn, like they're
Hmm.
overwhelmed. They
Hmm.
have they have a whole nother job they have to do besides
Right.
hiring people. So if we can come in and be like, here, here's like 6, candidates that we think could be a great fit, and here's why. Like we're going to bat for you. We're giving like a full write up, and we're, repping you. Like we're your agent. Like we are. We are going to the mat for you, because we believe in you. Like we wouldn't send you in if we didn't think you were a good fit. So I think getting that hiring manager's attention, where they're like, okay, I'm going to be receiving 6 resumes from the Joanne Weaver Group. They're probably all going to be yeses. Like I'm probably going to want to meet all of them at least for round one.
Hmm.
And being able to separate, like being able to rise through and not be part of that wheat versus chaff discussion, right? Where it's like people are sitting at home, like just applying on fast, I don't even know what it's called, like fast apply or quick apply on LinkedIn. And they're doing it hundreds of times a day. And they're
Hmm.
just kind of, spraying and praying. But if you're working with somebody who actually has the hiring manager's ear and trust as well, like you're going to get so much more traction. And I also wanted to address something that you said too, where it's like, oh, I felt like going directly to the company and like not having the company take a cut out of first of all, the cut is never out of your salary. The salary that you're going to earn is your salary. We never take anything from you as a job seeker. I think it's actually a really good signal to work with a recruiter, an outside recruiter, because that means the company is investing money into hiring a designer or whatever it is that they're hiring for, right? So it's like they're probably paying us upfront some sort of retainer, for us to go and conduct the search. Like they're putting their money where their mouth is. Like they've
Yeah.
got skin in the game,
Yeah.
right? Um,
No, that's a really good point, and again, I think that's you mentioned in our earlier conversation as well. Is the investment part, right? Just like we talked
mhm,
about earlier, where I'm just trying to figure out, can you even assess me properly? And they are like, no, like straight up no, right? And this
mhm.
is the opposite signal, where not only are they going to make sure that they assess you properly, it's because they're going to invest in someone to assess these people properly, such that
Yes.
it's filtered correctly, and I only get the top quality candidate. So I think that's a really good point to make in terms of the investment, right?
Yes.
From my experience. Now,
Yeah.
how could a person, and we're talking about designers, that's your focus here. How
Hmm.
would a designer be best situated to be at the top of your list as a candidate for these roles? What would they have to do, or what are you looking for?
Yeah. So the first thing is, so let's say we get a job in, we're looking for a senior product designer who has B2B SaaS experience from insurance.
Okay.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my network. I'm going to find who has that experience. If it's like hybrid on site in New York, I'm going to look for people in New York. Maybe it's people I've worked with before. Maybe I know that they're open to hybrid, but I'm going to focus on your actual work experience and your background first. So if that's not a fit and it's like a hard requirement that this company needs that kind of skill set, it's just fitting a square peg in a round hole. It's just not going to work,
Right.
right? So I'm going for the requirements of the job first. Um, and that's my process, really. Like, we'll look on LinkedIn. Okay, does this person have the right background? Oftentimes, I don't know why designers do this. Maybe you have some insight into this, but I feel like so many designers' portfolio links and their contact information like just don't work. Like, they're
Oh,
like broken. Do you see that too?
I have I seen that? What I have seen is that designers traditionally, before the AI, because AI now you can build anything you need, but
Yeah.
before AI, I would see a lot of designers effectively just kind of using like Figma as their website, so to speak,
Yeah. Which is fine.
and which
Yeah.
which would be fine if you set it up right. Because if you don't set it
Mm,
up so that a person can actually, click something that looks like a link and actually does something, then it looks like it's broken because it doesn't work, right?
yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
think I've seen that a whole bunch of times.
Yeah.
But in terms of
Right.
actually contacting, I don't. Yeah, I think it's that's an interesting kind of perspective, right? Too, because I think designers are spending so much time on the visuals and making sure their case studies and all this stuff. Then they're just like, oh, okay, yeah, I need a contact page, I guess. Like I think some folks are
Mm,
just not having on their radar, and they're putting so much emphasis and focus and
mhm.
stress on the case studies, knowing that that's such a big deal, and they're kind of
Right.
forgetting those details. Maybe that might be
Right.
it.
Like, they're making this beautiful thing, but it's like hidden away in like a quartz tower someplace. Like, we can't find it.
Hmm.
So I think, yeah, making your stuff findable is really important. But first I'll go for the background, then I'll look at the portfolio. Does the portfolio have the kind of level of craft this particular client's looking for, right? And again, craft is very subjective. So I'm getting in my client's mind, like, what do they consider to be good craft?
Hmm. Hmm.
Oftentimes we'll ask for like sample portfolios of people that they thought might be a good
Oh,
match.
that's good.
We might actually look at, like, what are they actually going to be working on? We'll do a screen share in our kickoff call. Like, what is the product they're going to be working on? So then we can be like, okay, you're looking for somebody that has a lot of dashboard experience. Fantastic. Then we know what to look for in portfolios, right? So then I'll look for the portfolio. Do they have dashboards if that client's looking for dashboards? So am I also seeing evidence of what this client's looking for in terms of your background? Am I seeing insurtech? Am I seeing healthcare? Am I seeing whatever it is they need? So then that's kind of like my pre-screen process. Then if I think they're a good match, I'll reach out on LinkedIn. Sometimes I'll find their email address, oftentimes off their portfolio if I can find that. And then from there, how can people work with us the best? I think honestly, you kind of get out what you put into this relationship
Mm.
in a lot of ways. Like, if you're investing in it and you're in it to win it and you're quick with your responses, if we're working on this role that you've agreed to be repped on, are you enthusiastic about it? Do you see him into it? At
Mhm.
the end of the day, I want to work with people that I think will be good matches for the role, but who I also think will say yes to an offer,
Mm.
right? Like, that's what we're here for. Like, we are here to fill our clients' roles. Like, if I'm getting the impression that it's a bit of a tightrope, right? Because it's like, I want to know like somebody's true impressions of the company. Like, I want to get the straight poop, right? Like, after each interview round, like, I want to know how it actually went. And you can say negative things about the interview. You can be like, oh, I didn't really like this. I didn't like this. But overarchingly, I really liked this. Like, this was amazing. And I'm super interested. And I'm like, great. Okay. You're probably going to be more of a yes when it comes to offer time because you're really interested in the company and you see the opportunity here. But if somebody conversely is like, just, a Debbie Downer, or they're just naysayers about everything, or it's just hard, or they just aren't excited about it. They're just not into it. And it's like, okay, I'm naturally probably going to work a little bit harder for the person that I think is like not just the better fit, but also just more enthusiastic too. And just enthusiasm can come through in not just what you say to me, but it comes through in so many kind of like micro communication ways, right? So it's like your speed in getting back to me. If the client is asking for like, oh, do you have a sample of this kind of work? Like, have you done like a service design blueprint? Do you have that anywhere in your background? If you're turning that around to me within a couple of hours, or certainly by like the end of the same day, like I'm like, great, this person's into it. Like they're feeling it. Like we're keeping like momentum. Like there's something about momentum and keeping that forward is just so important.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that people get busy and people sometimes just need to, focus on other things. But if you're working with a recruiter and it is a very time sensitive process, just let me know. Just be like, hey, I'm going to be out of touch. I'm going to be out of pocket for the next 2 days. So text me if you need something, or I can't turn anything around for you in 2 days. So it's just really having that open and honest and just very transparent relationship with me.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And I think just thinking about the folks that aren't working with recruiters, the folks that are, going through, lots of JDs every single day, applying, whether it's through, Easy Apply, or it's the horrendous Workday
Oh my
form,
God,
right?
Workday.
Like the horrendous Workday form where you put your information in 4 times and then you lose it because the page refreshes. Like those things, whether no matter what it is that you have to go through, right? The amount of effort that it takes, by the end of it, you are exhausted with applying, because especially since you don't get any feedback at the black box. Now, what you're explaining there is that yes, there is most likely work to be done, but the work is most likely more valuable because it's going direct to a person who's going to, assess it. You're not going to be going through all of these hoops just to go ahead and get your resume underneath the door, right? It's so much more of a white glove service that you're going to get when you work with the right recruiter. And we'll have to say that properly. Now, when you were mentioning about, the steps that you're taking to work with someone, it sounds like you kind of course, start with the client because they have the jobs. But has anyone went to you directly as a candidate, right? It was like, hey, I'm looking for a role. We'll just keep that pretty general. Do you work with those folks that just come to you directly as like, okay, I'm on available, open to work, so to speak, on LinkedIn Speak? Has that happened with you at all?
I would say it's more rare, right? Because at the end of the day, our clients are paying us to fill their roles. So that's job number one. I've got to focus on that above all else. However, if I do receive, certainly if it's a personal referral, like if somebody that I really dig, or it's a client, or it's somebody that I'm like maybe like wanting to develop that relationship, or it's a candidate I've worked with in the past that I just love, and we've got this great relationship and I trust their judgment. They'll say, hey, I've got this great person I want you to meet. And sometimes I'll say like, okay, is this going to be a favor to you? Like, would this help you if I talk to them? Because I care about that relationship.
Got it.
Even if I can't work with that person, maybe I'll still talk to the person, right? To kind of like build my relationship up with the referrer. But then sometimes that conversation can yield amazing desserts that I never knew were going to be there until you get on the phone with somebody, right? I would say it's tougher to reverse market a candidate, right? So if you get a candidate, I'm screening you. Okay, sometimes it can spark ideas where I'm like, oh, you do ed tech. Oh, you used to be a former teacher. Oh, great. I've got an ed tech client that loves former teachers. Why don't I don't know what they have cooking. I don't know if they have anything open for you, but I could just ping my HR contact over there who already knows and loves us. We have a fee agreement in place. So it's like, we're, cool to work together if something good came about. And so I might just say like, hey, I met somebody great. I don't know if you're hiring, but here's like, and then I'll give like 3 bullet points about why I think this person would be great for the company. And I'll usually do kind of a blind submit. So I won't submit the resume or the portfolio because I don't want the company to feel like they have to hire the person and then pay a fee. So it's kind of more of like a blind thing. But then if the company says like, oh yeah, this person sounds really great, let's see the information. And then I can put the information through. And then sometimes that can be, a little walk down into the sunset together, potentially. But I would say I get a lot of requests from people that are on the job market that I don't have roles for. So, time is money. I got to spend my time. Like,
Yeah.
this is business we're running. Like, I got to make sure we're taking care of our beloved clients and making sure that they're well fed and watered and cared for. Um, but if I do have some bandwidth, sometimes I'll offer to give people coaching on the side. I
There
don't
you go.
really, I don't really tout it. Like, it's paid. Like, I'll do like a half an hour or an hour. I'll do like a portfolio review, resume review. I actually really enjoy that work because I think I'm really good at having somebody tell me like all the things they love to do and they're good at and the things they don't love to do. Like, here's my passion. And like, I'm really good at like telling like, oh, okay, here's your, I hate the phrase personal brand,
Mm,
but it's like, okay, here's your unique selling proposition, right?
yep.
It's like, here's where I think you could really like stand out and shine. And like, this is what really makes you you. I'm even getting excited just talking about it right now. I mean, I just
Yeah.
love that work. So maybe I'll do more of that. Hey, Donnie, maybe this opens something up.
I mean, maybe it does. I mean, here's the thing. This
You know?
this is reminding me of, I had Dan Mall on the show last week, and
Mhm.
he also does a lot of helping designers and consulting designers. In fact, he's doing it at larger scales certainly. But he actually did a live consult on the show with me last week, because
Oh,
I
cool.
was also kind of in this weird space of I do all these different things. How am I supposed to what's the one elevator pitch or sentence that says, okay, this is what Donnie is, because I've done so
Yeah.
much. And what he said was, he pitched me. He goes, I think it's, I help designers have fun. And I was like, wow,
Ooh,
that's
I
really
love
right.
that.
That's really good.
That's perfect for you.
I
I
thought
love
that was,
that.
yeah, I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
I've been kind of, mulling that over my head in terms of the things that I do and all that kind of stuff. But I haven't made any particular changes yet, admittedly. I'm already, kind of dragging my feet, so to speak. But I do think that what I did get out of that conversation, which is really interesting, and I think this is something that you could absolutely provide, is the edge of the social circle. And what I learned basically from Dan there is that there are people that are in my circle that are too close to me, that
Mm,
just
mhm.
know too much about me, and maybe even are a little concerned about my feelings toward a particular direction or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
going to be a little bit biased in those kinds of things. And it's going to effectively taint the feedback, because they're
Yep.
in one
Yep.
direction.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, you're going to have folks that are in the outer circle have no idea what I'm doing whatsoever. If I start telling them, okay, that's a little, moment or sliver of this whole thing, and it's not the full picture. But what
Mhm.
you want to have is someone on the edge of that circle, right?
Mhm.
Someone
Mhm.
who's basically is here, is knows about all the stuff that you're doing, right? And is excited about those things that you're doing, sees the stuff that you're doing, but isn't like in your day to day or even in your week to week social kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
situation. And it
Mhm.
sounds like what you're talking about in terms of the excitement that you have when you hear about all these things that people are doing, and the coaching part, it sounds very similar to me, where
Mhm.
you look like, or it sounds like to me that you want to be on the edge of that circle, where you're able to have a perspective that says, okay, I'm no longer outside of the circle. I'm now being on the edge before coming fully in and saying, this is what I think your, I'm going to use the term personal brand is, right? Whatever that, or
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
words for that. And I think that
Yeah.
would be
Yeah.
really helpful.
Yeah. It's funny because I just gave free coaching to a close friend of mine who is a designer, but she's not exactly a product designer. So she's a little bit outside of our world.
Okay.
But she's helping me with my music website. So we're kind of doing like little barter stuff back and forth,
There you go.
Burning
Yep.
Man style. And it was actually really fun to work with her. I thought it would be tough being so close to her personally,
Mm-mm.
but I think that's my style of how I work with people, just even people that I don't know well, is that I always want to build them up. I feel like and not falsely. I think everybody has strengths, everybody has gifts, and people are often not aware of their own gifts. So, how can I have people realize those? How can I have them see them for themselves first? And then, second, how do we bubble those to the surface? And how do we create like a presentation? Like, how do we create materials and like a presence out there online that shows what you are, right? So in working with my friend, we had dinner like the next week after that, and she was like, wow, she's like, you were so kind to me, but it was also tough love. Like you weren't sugarcoating anything. You're just like, hey, like this could change, this could change. But it was never in a way of like, oh, this sucks or this is terrible. And I would never do that to anybody, because everybody has good stuff. I find that a lot of people, and this is from my coaching work, but also just in my recruiting work, I find that a lot of people bury the lead a lot, right? Like they might have this incredible skill or this incredible talent, or they've worked at this incredible company, but maybe it's a startup that nobody's ever heard of and they have it on their resume. And it's like, but there's so much cool stuff about it. Like maybe it's like a Series A and it's 100 million funded and it's like backed by these really incredible like VC people that people know. Or maybe they have like 50 million users and nobody's ever heard of it. It's like, don't bury the lead, like, put that under the company name on your resume. Even companies that are recognizable. Like we worked with a point of sale fintech company for years, and people knew it was like very ubiquitous. It was everywhere in the market. But like, did people know that it was owned by a Fortune 200 and had like a $3 billion, revenue structure every year? Like, no, people didn't know that. So I tell people oftentimes, like your resume and your portfolio, like that's your time to brag. Like this is not your time to be shy or coy. Put those big names up front. If you have a resume and it's going to open to be like that big, if I'm on my laptop, make sure that the big names are up on the top. If you work at an agency, drop your client names in there, whatever you can, if you're not covered by NDAs, right? And actually, so I actually have a couple books next to me here in case it's up in conversation, but I love this book. I actually have not finished it, but I love what they talk about. It's Never Search Alone by a guy named Phil Terry, Phyl Terry. What I like about this is that they talk about, so when I said I don't love the phrase personal brand, what he uses is candidate market fit, which I think is such a cool concept. And he's basically saying like, you are the product, like you're putting yourself on the market, like you are the product, like you are the minimum viable product, maybe when you start. And like, what is your candidate market fit? And so to your point about working with people outside of on the edge of the circle, you actually have, I forget what they call them, but it's like small cohorts, like small groups of people that you work with. It's all virtual, might be within the same country, but maybe it's like 5 or 6 people. It might not be fellow designers. It might be people that are in product or tech or maybe marketing. It might be something disparate. But you're basically in this group, like helping each other figure out what each person's best candidate market fit is. Right. And so you go through this process, like it's this very structured process. Like this is week 1, week 2, week 3, like this is what you discuss. And so one of these weeks is like, what's my minimum, like what's my candidate market fit and what are the easy, like low hanging fruit jobs that I could get like tomorrow? But then what are some stretch jobs? Like maybe there's a part of my passions that I haven't really brought to work, but I really love it. Like maybe I love, I wanted to be a veterinarian when I was young, right? So it's like maybe I want to get into like, still staying in tech, but I want to do it like for pro animals or an animal hospital or, high-end animal food or whatever it is. Okay, that might be a stretch because you haven't done it before, but there's always a story there, right? Like there's always, there's designers are storytellers. And so you can put your stories in your materials. Like maybe you have a resume and maybe in your portfolio, even like you have something to do with animals. And maybe you're making a new resume, like a specific resume for those types of jobs that you're going for. And then there's always a way to like craft your materials. And sometimes that's on a per job basis. But sometimes that's like your overarching kind of materials and your presentation. I think there's always something there. I think people should go for their dreams and yet also, and not but I think this is a tough market. I think now to go through a major job pivot is probably just a little more challenging. Not to say you shouldn't try it or go for it. You have like the right connections that makes it a little easier, of course. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm kind of rambling here, but anyway, candidate market fit. Full stop.
Yeah, no, that's a cool idea. I like that. I'm going to definitely take a peek at that book when I have an opportunity. Yeah. Now, I was thinking while you were speaking in there about do you have stories, right? We have stories. We have designers that are creative. Do you have anything that comes to mind when we're talking about, a creative pitch? Right? Have Because I remember this from years ago. You'd have these resumes wrapped in chocolate, as an example, right, and all
Oh
those things,
God,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So have you seen any of that recently, where there's some kind of creative, on either the candidate side or the hiring side, something creative that was just like, oh wow, I've never seen that before. Is that something that comes to mind there at all?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard stories of people. I mean, there's always fun stories everywhere in the industry. There was one story, this was more a client wooing the candidate that they
Okay.
wanted to hire.
Okay.
But this was a kind of a boutique. It started out as an e-commerce agency. Now they're more of like an insurance agency, but I think they were more e-commerce at the time. And they were wooing this creative director, kind of head of product design, head of design. And she was very interested in them, but I think she had a couple other companies she was talking to. So
Mhm.
she was a hot commodity. She was really good.
Okay.
And the owner of the agency and her bonded over the fact that they both love animals. So
Oh.
she's like, they both love dogs in particular. And so there's like an office dog they had. So she was interacting with him and just like, it was just like this really lovely moment.
Mhm.
And so but Josh, the owner of the agency, had a portrait of this candidate's dog made
Oh my God.
and framed it and sent it to her with a note, like a handwritten note, keeping things super personal, like just tons of humanity
Mhm.
infused in all of this, right? So, and gave her a note of like, we'd love you to join our team. And she did.
Wow. Okay. You know what?
Yeah.
That's really interesting because it reminds me, again, talking about Dan Moll a little bit because it is aligning here. He put out this video about how he was trying to go after these particular clients, and he makes these things called love letters. They're this hyper personal things that are trying to find connections with the decision makers effectively. Now it's really interesting because it's just like, oh, you've taken a picture of my dog and has handwritten a note. This sounds like the beginning of a murder mystery. You know, right? Because it's like, wait a minute, what's going on? Why are you doing this for me? Right? It's so personal. But
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
the additional context there, of course, is that this is meant to be framed in a professional setting, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
This is not like, I'm not trying to, make a best friend necessarily. What I am trying to do is get your attention and show you that I am considerate and serious and friendly, right? Trying to get
Yeah.
those emotions. That's something that Dan also pushes
Yeah.
to move positively and get
Yeah.
people to the top of the list, so to speak, with those exercises and those extra little things.
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's also that he saw her.
Hmm.
Like he really got her. Like he got the fact that she was a total dog freak. So he's like, okay, what's going to speak to her specifically? And we do this with, at the end of each of our searches, like once one of our candidates gets an offer from our client, we always go back to the client and say, what are the warm fuzzies? Like this is the warm fuzzy part of the process. What do you love about Donnie in particular? Why do you want to hire Donnie? What about him is perfect for the role? How do you think he can grow in this role? And so oftentimes like multiple people in the team will write in and I'll just have this beautiful, just kind of, email full of just beautiful things to share with the candidate. And I think what really helps kind of help them see that they're so wanted is that they feel so seen, right?
Hmm.
I think that's I think that's every human's deep need is to be seen and to be acknowledged, like to be appreciated for who they are. So it's a really powerful part of the process, and it's also just like the funnest part of the process. I love that. But I think the overarching theme, like going back to like what can candidates do to make themselves memorable to
Yes.
hiring managers,
Hmm.
um, I think it is in this thread of like, what's something personal? Like, I think there's so much noise about AI and bots and this and that. I think really the thing that's standing out now in this market is how human are you?
Yeah.
Right. And like you, Donnie, I mean, you do such a great job of this. Like you're so funny and you're bringing people together, like you're bringing people together in community with your game show. And no, but it's really important. But I think I think having that humanity is so important, especially in this moment right now.
Yeah.
So I think, if you are a candidate and you're looking at a job, go find out, like, who do you think the hiring manager is? Who's the VP of design? Who's the director of design that might be in this department? When you reach out to them, which I think you should always do. So apply on quick apply, like, you have to go through their system. So do that. But then reach out to the person and be like, hey, I saw you went to Villanova too. Like, go, whatever the mascot is of Villanova, right? Buzzcocks. No, I'm just making that up. That's maybe that might be a punk band, actually. Never mind.
Okay, I was gonna say, I don't sports. You would have got me there for sure.
Razorbacks.
Yeah, we'll go with Razorbacks.
With Z's in it. I was kind of thinking Z's.
Here you
go. Or just, if it's not that personalized outreach. Well, before I move on to the next thought, everybody wants to be seen as a human, right? So when candidates are working with me and they're like, oh, I saw that you rode crew in college, like I rode crew, or like, oh, I see you were in like Chi Omega sorority, I was in Delta, whatever. Like, just like fun things like that, where it's like, okay, I'm doing my job, but like, oh, I'm also being seen. Oh, it's special. It's not something that everybody does. But it's that little boost of serotonin of like, oh, this person sees me. Like, they value the relationship. They value who I am. Like, I'm going to put more value into that person, right? It's just like this natural reciprocity sort of thing that I think we're hardwired for. But aside from the networking piece, I think with people's materials, I think you hit the nail on the head with fun, Donnie. This doesn't have to be the only way. Mm-hmm. But for instance, I saw a candidate, I didn't actually rep him, but I saw a candidate who was I think he was also a chef too. And he just had like a ton of vegetables on his portfolio site.
Oh, yeah.
Like, kind of like interesting, like daikon radishes, like not your everyday vegetables. And the work was beautiful too. I mean, the work has to be good as well. Can't be all fun and games. Can't be all reindeer games. You have to, got to get the meat in there too. But it was just fun. It's creating a moment of delight, right? For people that are doing their jobs, they're focused, but it's like, oh, what did that open up for me? Like, oh, it made me smile. It made me laugh.
Yeah, it's the emotion for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. I mean, the things that I've been telling people out there, not as a recruiter, just as a person who's paying attention a lot to the industry and the environment that's going on right now, is I've always thought about, you can't just hit the easy apply anymore. You have to make connections and network and do some of the legwork to get your eyes on you and get your resume to the top of the pile, so to speak, right? So when I see roles out there that are interesting to me, that's I don't hit the apply immediately. I do a little bit of legwork. I do a little bit of research, and that's the thing is it's funny. Like, again, it kind of goes back to something that Dan Mull said last week again about doing ordinary work. You're going to get ordinary results. If you do extraordinary work, you're going to expect extraordinary results. So you hitting easy apply, how could you potentially even assume that you're going to get something out of easy apply, right? You're going to get easy reject directly afterwards.
right? Easy in, easy out.
Yeah, exactly. So if you put in the extra work in some of these, and again, this is coming from someone who has a job right now, hasn't been in the trenches. I completely understand and empathize for folks who have put in the work and have not been fruitful in those things. But that being said, it's entirely possible that other things, it wasn't a match in the first place, right? It was a miscommunication on one or both parties there, and it wasn't a match even if you did put in the effort. I mean, that happens with dating all the time, right? This is a very similar kind of idea where, one party puts in a lot of the effort and the other person is just like not feeling it. It's not going to happen, right? It has to be that mutual situation. So I think we align on that field. We're getting close to the end of the show over here.
It just flew by.
Haven't time flies when they're having fun. That's what they say, right?
Yeah.
But I do want to give the opportunity to kind of plug whatever you'd like to plug for the audience, to let them know services or anything that you might be else that people, maybe some performances that might be coming up too, that you could plug that would be all right.
Oh, that's right. Yes, Donnie and I are creative artists as well.
That's right.
So, oh shoot, I wish we did this a couple months ago because I had a fantastic George Michael Wham show in the city a couple months ago, which was fantastic for George Michael's
Just need
birthday.
another one. That's all.
Well, that was my second one.
There
I
you
might
go.
do a third.
Hell
We'll
yeah.
see. We'll see. But yeah, people can find me on LinkedIn. You will need my email address to link in with me. So I encourage everybody who's listening, please link in with me. I'd love to hear from you. My email is Joanne, it's JOANNE at JoanneWeaverGroup.com. That's Weaver like Dream Weaver.
Yep. Bring it back.
Yep. And then you can also use that email to, if you want to send me your information, if you're based in the States. So our roles tend to be USA focused. A lot of them tend to be New York focused, but not necessarily. Sometimes we'll get some remote roles elsewhere. We are looking for 4 senior product designers for a New York-based company, which is in the B2B2C space, doing HR tools in like the payroll and health insurance space. So they work with SMBs, small to medium-sized businesses, and help them set up their processes and their HR systems. So we're looking for 4 seniors to be hybrid on-site in New York. They can't do visas, but it's an incredible company. They're growing leaps and bounds. We love their VP of design. We've worked with them for years, and their whole design team is just chef's kiss, amazing. We're also looking for a senior PM, so on the product side, for an animal hospital up in White Plains. So it's also hybrid on-site up there, somebody to work on their platform, like their EHR records. And it's a dog-filled office, which sounds super, super cool.
Oh my God. There you go.
Does that sound fun?
That does sound fun. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, you kind of wish it was closer to home. I mean, a little bit, right? I mean, for a lot of folks in the city, but that's okay. I'm sure there's opportunities to find dogs somewhere, right?
Yeah, it's commutable. It's a
There you go.
fast little, it's just pop on the train.
Easy, simple. Well, Joanne, thank you so much for being on the show. Wealth of knowledge in this space. I really do appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure, Donnie. Thank you for having me on. And thank you for doing this work. This is, I know it's time out of your regular job and all the things you're doing. And it's really selfless and giving and generous. And it's really being such a stand for the community. So thank you.
Thank you. And well, thank you for watching the show. Before you go, please help out the show by smashing that like and subscribe button just to get notified the next time that we go live. And feel free to continue the conversation on the official Design Systems House Discord by visiting discord.ds.house. There it is on the bottom right there. Play nice in those comments, and I'll see you on the internet. Bye.